Okay.
Okay. Hello. Are
Hello,
we
we are
on?
here. Yep,
Okay.
we can hear you, and it's
Okay.
4:30. I got it now. So, Cheryl, are we ready to go?
Yes, Madam Chair, we're
All
ready.
right. Okay. Would it help you, since you're doing a lot of double duty there, if for me to do the roll for you today too? I can do that. I can do
I,
it for
I
sure.
have it in front of me, but whatever you'd like to do.
Okay. I just wanted to take some of the pressure off of you. Well, folks, it's 4:30. Thank you all for being here. And the May meeting is called to order. And with that, we're going to go ahead and go through the roll call. And so let's see. Okay, if I do this, I can't look and do it at the same time. So yeah, okay, so Cheryl, if you could do the roll call, I'll check the participants
It's my pleasure. So, Doris, Ruth, Doris, she may come later, maybe.
It could be. She usually checks in later.
Ray,
Here.
DJ Carroll,
Here.
Craig Edens, Louise Edens,
Here.
Madeline, present.
Okay.
Robin Gosney,
Here.
Chris Jones,
Chris Jones, are you there?
Here.
Judy Jones.
Here.
John Norman said that he would like to be excused because he's not feeling well.
Oh, God. Well, I understand that one. Okay, thank you.
Monette Parton. Monette? Doesn't look like she's in. Dick Phillips is here.
Wonderful, Dick. I'm glad to have you.
Valerie Rose. I did talk to her and she said that she was going to probably have to leave early. But
Okay.
maybe she'll be like Doris and come in later. Dave Stevens. He's here. Daniel. I left a message for Daniel, but I didn't hear back.
Okay. And
For now,
all
he's
right.
not here. And that's the group.
Okay. And so I'm just checking up here. I was looking on the participants list here. And Valerie's coming. And what did you say? And now is David there? What did you say about David? Dave?
Dave Stevens is in from Skagit Transit. It's Rogelio and Cheryl Willis.
Okay, and Dave's there, right?
And Stevie, of course.
Yes. Okay, so Dave is present, correct?
Dave is present.
All right, very good. Okay, thank you very much. That took a little bit, but thank you all very much. I appreciate this. We do have, from what I understand, we have a guest, correct, Cheryl?
So we have two guests.
Okay, and could you introduce our guests, please?
We go ahead if you'd like. They each have a mic.
Oh, good.
Hi, I'm Julie Myers. I am the Mobility and Senior Services Manager from Community Action of Skagit County, and I'm just here to sit in and listen.
Well, wonderful. You are most welcome. I'm glad to have you on board today. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
I guess I must be the second guest.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Irene Prokuski. I've put in an application to be on the CAC committee.
That is wonderful, and I'm glad to have you with us.
So I'm here to check it out.
That's great. And anytime you have any questions, feel free to ask. You are most welcome. That's the way to get the information you need to know in order to make a decision. Thank you so much for coming today.
Sure. Thank you.
All right. Do we have any public commenters today? No, I'm not hearing any. All right. So let's get to the April meeting minutes. Does anybody have any additions or corrections to the meeting minutes for April?
Well, I'm sure they're okay, but I'm here. I was muted and couldn't get unmuted.
Oh, okay, Manette, that's Manette, right? Sounds like
That's
Manette.
right.
All right, you are here. I didn't see you on the list, but now I gotcha. All right, good.
Okay.
And Valerie is here. Welcome. This is wonderful. All right, so we're talking about the minutes. Does anyone have any additions or corrections to the April minutes? Okay.
No additions or corrections, but Valerie Rose, I'm sorry I'm late. I'm here. And I got a text from Doris saying that she's on I-5 and on her way.
Oh, that's wonderful. Well, thank you so much for joining us. I understand how this goes, especially when you're working like you ladies are. So I just appreciate you making it. Thank you so much.
Bless your heart. Thanks.
Yeah, you too. If there's no additions or corrections, does anyone want to bring a motion forward?
I move we approve the minutes.
And okay, and who's that voice that moved?
That was me, BJ.
BJ, thank you. Okay. All right. And who seconded?
I'll second it.
Okay, David, right?
Yep.
Okay. All right. It's been moved and seconded that the April meeting minutes be approved as submitted. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Hi.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Okay, well, thank you all very much for that. All right, now we get to introduce Stevie Matthews, and she is going to serve as our new liaison. She's taken the position for the, excuse me, she's taken Brad's old position. And so, Stevie, I will let you go ahead and introduce yourself to the committee.
Thank you so much, Judy. Well, as Judy said, I'm Stevie Matthews, and I'm ecstatic to be joining you guys. I guess I'll give you a little background. So I am currently in the process of moving. I have not yet been able to relocate, but I'll be there for the next month's meeting, I'm sure. I'm coming from Pittsburgh, where I have been working on a network redesign of our system, very much in contrast to the West Coast. I know a lot of people don't like change in general, but most of what we have still kind of resembles the old streetcar paths, and trying to get people to let go of some of this legacy has been a bit of a challenge. So in my role here for the past about half a decade, I have been in planning and in scheduling, really with the intention of redesigning the system and being able to provide more service. But sadly, with COVID, a lot of things got scaled back, and you get to learn a whole nother perspective on how to best allocate resources when they're quite limited. So I'm hopeful that I can bring a lot of this skill that I've developed unexpectedly to some of what I'm doing now. Prior to that, I was in a smaller organization, very similar to where I am now, that I oversaw all of the fixed route, the paratransit, and the incline operations. So I have a very soft spot for the needs of the accessibility community. So I'm looking forward to working with you guys and hearing a lot of the things that Judy's been telling me throughout my interview process. I have some ideas I'll be looking forward to sharing with you. And prior to that, I lived in Orlando, where I grew up. I coincidentally had been working on my PhD in Egypt, where I was an archaeologist. There's a direct correlation from archaeology to transportation, as you know. Things just got a little hairy, so I thought I'm going to take a little break. And a family friend gave me a job because I had a lot of education, but no real world experience. And I worked my way up, and I was working on Walt Disney World property, actually. So we ran all of the fixed route services for the students that came internationally to work on the Epcot, all the different resorts, the different properties that were throughout there. So we had 13 different routes. We took them to other housing, not just to work, then their grocery store, the post office, all of the things that they would need as if it were a tiny little city. So that's really kind of where I fell in love with the needs of the people and the planning and the scheduling and interacting with folks who really didn't have any other means to get around a city they weren't really familiar with. So there was no going back for me at that point in time. So now I am here. My main focus is at first our long range plan. So I'm pretty sure you've been introduced to some of these concepts where we're looking for a lot of feedback from the community for being able to not just improve the service, but to simply provide what it is that you are looking for instead of what we assume you want. So that's a major push that'll be going on through the summer. And then I will have many more agenda items, I'm sure, as we talk about your wants and needs. So without overdoing it and boring you with all of my background, I'll hand it back over to Judy and let anyone ask me questions or let me know what Brad had been working on directly with you guys that you would like to see me carry forward, or how would you like me to see something go a little differently?
All right. Well, Stevie, thank you so much for that great introduction. And again, she is going to be the planning and outreach supervisor, the Brad's former position. So I am thrilled to have her as our liaison as well, which is part of that job duty. And we're going to keep her busy, won't we, guys? We will. So I'd like to open it up for anybody who has questions for Stevie. Just go ahead and speak up and let Cheryl know. And Cheryl, if you can let us know and also help intervene, because we may or may not be able to hear everybody, who is in person over there, unless you're at a mic. So let's open it up for any questions for Stevie.
So far, I see a hand up on Zoom.
Hi, it's Valerie, and welcome, Stevie. Let's see, as soon as you said either trolleys or streetcars, that got my attention. And I just maybe some other time we can talk trolleys and streetcars, which are dear to my heart. Does Pittsburgh still have any streetcars or trolleys? Let's see, in terms of what, were you trying to replace a streetcar-based network system with a hub and spoke pattern, or some other configuration, more modern configuration? Actually, hub and spoke isn't even that modern. Anyway, one of the things that Brad was working on with us was getting our advice and preferences about the design of new bus shelters as we get the money to put them in. I don't know where what stage that's in, but that's one of the things that we were working on.
Okay, I had to take a few notes. That was a layered question there. So we do not currently or any longer service the community with streetcars or trolleys. In the late 60s, they were all converted to gas buses, now diesel, moving into hybrid electric and questioning hydrogen at this point. But they do operate along the same pathways for almost all of them. You can still see the tracks in many of our roadways. The folks have voted to insist that we keep many of our brick roadways, which are expensive and challenging to maintain, but that is another scenario altogether. For those that do continue to function as they did exclusively, they've been converted to light rail. We are the only system in the country, I think one of two in the world, that still operate on those more narrow tracks. So we are still using very old light rail cars that were built the year I was born. I won't allude to that just yet, but they're old. So they're currently in the process to get those a lot of the infrastructure for the overhead lines. So I'm very excited to see how that network is expanding on the West Coast and be a part of that growth. Pittsburgh is a hub and spoke system where almost all routes feed from the suburban areas into downtown. Because of our terrain, we have a lot of very steep roads and valleys. We're kind of constrained in where we can put buses, especially the larger articulated ones, which I know we won't be working with just yet. We'll get there. So that's been a bit of the challenge to do that. So that's where we started to investigate some micro transit zones, which I know will be part of what's going to happen here, which is great. And we really learned from doing a lot of public outreach that not everybody's looking to go downtown anymore. That's not the same center. After, if you guys are familiar at all with the steel mill collapse in the 60s and 70s, and all the folks moving out of town, they really fought in the 80s and 90s to get the universities to grow. So now it is really this medical and technological hub. We have Google here, we have a lot of Amazon facilities, so a lot of emerging technology. I know you guys are way more familiar with that on the West Coast, but it's been quite the achievement to get anybody to come back into Pittsburgh. So it's really gotten cleaned up. There is a lot of green space. It's a beautiful city. I loved living here. I just really felt like I had training wheels on quite a bit, and I'm looking forward to, letting those off and really bringing the community into some of what we're building. And shelters are a good example of how you can get people involved. I think that's great. I want to work on updating the bus stop guidelines. There's currently like a one pager that exists deep down in the website. If you ever go digging, it's wildly outdated. It doesn't have industry standards in there. So I want to start bringing some of those things into the forefront so that we can add more stops. I've been told a lot of them are very widely spaced out. There aren't necessarily amenities at some of the more popularly used ones. So when we can gather some of this data, we can put that out there and make it more attractive for people to ride. I hope that answers all your questions. I feel like I might have missed one point.
Okay, are there any other questions for Stevie?
Oh, well, I've got one. What's bringing her out to the Pacific Northwest?
And this is Minette that's speaking to you, Stevie.
I'm sorry, this is Minette. Stevie, what
Thank you so much.
bringing you out to the Pacific Northwest?
That's an excellent question. So twofold. On a personal level, being a Floridian originally, I am very used to good seafood and lots of rain. And I'm one of the weirdos that misses the rain. I do really appreciate a gray, dreary day. I know it sounds contradictory, but I do love it. And the professional side of that is kind of where I was talking about taking off the training wheels. There's so much more community involvement, whether that be from the average Joe on the street all the way up through your political leaders. People come together and want this to be a successful program. And we run into a lot of hurdles, not that I won't. But it's wonderful to see the more connected environment that I've just had the exposure of every time I come to the West Coast, that it just is more of the environment I want to be involved in. So when I made that decision and I found this posting, I thought, oh, we'll see what happens. And I guess they loved me. So I'm here and I'm happy to be contributing.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions for Stevie? And if somebody has a question, announce your name for her, please.
I'm not hearing anything at the station.
Okay, yeah, and there's no raised hands here in the participants list.
Well, I'll
okay.
be around. So if you think of anything after the fact, you'll know how to find me.
Okay, and I may shoot you an email after the meeting too, Stevie. I got your email from Jennifer, so I'll be sending you something. And I just appreciate you're here at our meeting, and I'm looking forward for you to be getting to know all of us. And you know, we were just sort of talking pre-meeting, just talking around, and I was saying randomly, I said, wouldn't it be fun just to go out to dinner somewhere with each other, all of us, you know? So if we ever have the chance to do that just for fun, we just ought to do it and make it work. It's one of these things that can bond people, you know, in a group sometimes. So, well, that's something that, you know, that we can just sort of plan off the grid here, but that'd be great. So thank you so much for joining us, and I can't wait to work with you. I think this is going to be a great thing.
I misspoke. We do have one more question.
Oh, okay. All right.
Hi, it's Irene. So this is my first time here at this meeting. So what does a planning and outreach supervisor do? Just high level.
That is a really good question. At this point, it is a very big umbrella. So the planning side, like I said, thus far, we're talking about the long range plan for us for right now. And that is kind of a 5 to 10 year goal to see how the network should expand. From what I understand, between like Bellingham and Everett, a lot of the communities are starting to encroach into the center, and there's more of a demand for service. So we're in a position where we want to somewhat retool the network that we're looking at so that we can grow as it is planned instead of ad hoc here and there, just add things as is needed. And the outreach portion of that is, in my opinion, probably just as important, if not more, because I can go to all the conferences and do all the research and use industry standards until the cows come home. Do you guys say that on the West Coast? We'll find out. But it's completely useless unless I'm out in the community speaking with people who have different barriers, different challenges, folks who don't know about the service, helping to bring education to like our youth program so that as kids grow up, they understand what the services are, they become familiar with it, and you become a lifelong rider. So we're trying to mirror these things together into, you know, one big bubble to move the county forward together.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you for that. And like you said, it's a very big umbrella at this point. I know that Brad had a lot to do, you know, filling that position. Any other questions for Stevie? All right. Well, if I am not hearing any, I'm sure that if you all have any questions that you'd like to get to her, you can email me, email Cheryl, and we'll make sure that she gets them. We both have her email, and I'm looking forward to meeting you in person, Stevie, soon.
Likewise, Judy. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. Okay, at this point, we've got, I guess Cheryl is going to take this over, and she's going to tell us we have a new driver's class, which is really good. And what can you tell us about this new driver's class, Cheryl?
Well, there's 7 new drivers that are in the new drivers class, which is great. At least 2 of them already have commercial driver's licenses that are from other industries. They seem very interested in how transit works. Like I met them like in the first couple of days that they came on board, and some of them had already been on transit just to kind of get a sense of how we operate, where we go, those sorts of things. This is an all-male class. A lot of times that we have a mix, but they look like they're excited to get into things. And from what the trainer told me on the sidelines, they're a really sharp group.
That's great. So when do they finish their class and start getting into their into the wheels portion of it?
They're already driving.
Oh, good.
With the trainer right now already. So the ones that have commercial driver's license, we suspect that, you know, it's much shorter period of time for training for them. They still have to have first aid, and, you know, everybody has certain things they have to have.
I think, isn't it 2 weeks for a person who already has a CDL or something like that, and then it's more weeks? I don't remember exactly. I know I've heard it, but and you know, don't quote me on that, but yeah, I've heard that it's a shorter turnaround time there too.
I think yeah, it's going to be a great group.
Okay. All right. Now we get to debrief or the trip that I didn't get to go on, and I was so mad at myself that I didn't get to go on. I even had my clothes picked out for it, right? But anyway, I hope you all had a great time. So let's open up and talking about this trip that everybody all took on the 6:15 out to LaConner. What new kinds of things did you see on that bus run? What improvements did you see? What impressed you? What do you think could be better? Let's open it up to everybody and your comments.
Well, this is BJ Carroll. Okay. I ride the 6:15, and what I was impressed about was the way it connects at March Point. It seems that we were there for a few minutes. It seemed very efficient, and I was impressed.
Okay, great. That's good to know. Anybody else?
I noticed, Robin, I noticed that we went right through Shelter Bay, and I was very surprised at that because I pictured those people as possibly all having cars and boats and all these things and wanting to be very separated, not really integrated, but if they're integrated into the general public with the means of transportation, that's more connectivity.
Yeah, that's great. That's really good. It gives us better exposure. Any other comments or questions?
Well, yes, and then we had a great lunch, and everything was so organized by Cheryl. We had menus. Everything went like clockwork. So thank you.
Okay. And then we had another comment, a gentleman. Who was that?
Oh, this is Ray.
Ray, okay.
Yeah, it was really fun. I thought we were just going to kind of drive around and look like sheep, you know, but BJ was pointing out all of the beautiful things in LaConner. I had never been to the museum. Yeah, when we stopped at March Point, that was good. I almost had time to run to the coffee shop, but couldn't make it. But they did vote me the dinger since I haven't pull the cord. So I was the dinger for the day and got to pull the cord. So very interesting. It was more than I thought. And so that's why I'm excited about trying doing another one or doing dinner. That would be really fun.
Oh, wouldn't that be fun?
Try
Yeah.
that.
Well, this is great. I'm glad everybody enjoyed it so much. So Cheryl,
yeah.
thank you so much for putting this together for us. And I really hope to make the next one, the next exciting one. And the next one, we'll have Stevie with us too. So this is great. This is really good. Any other comments on this before we move on?
I want to mention Rogelio was with us as well.
Rogelio, hello. Okay. Very good. Well, we're always glad to have you with us. Thank you so much. Okay, now we're actually getting off onto the staff report. So Cheryl, would you like to take it away?
Sure. Now that we have wonderful Stevie, Alan's going to be handing off his liaison position to Stevie. So we'll direct things to Stevie. In April, we had a blood drive at Skagit Station. They brought a mobile unit that was woman manned with the clinic folks that had completely full back to back donors, blood donors. And within the mobility unit, there are 4 stations. So they're able to accommodate people at the same time. And of course, it's all about the snacks. After you give your blood, they're very generous with the snacks for the recovery.
Now, you're talking donors of Skagit Transit personnel, correct?
Yeah,
this is not a public thing, but Skagit Transit personnel
right.
Blood drive. Okay.
That's right.
All right.
So anyhow, it was a great help. They got quite a lot of pints of blood. I have a very rare type of blood, so they were really happy to see me. And I think we'll probably do it again in the future.
Well, that's wonderful. That's great that there was so much agency participation with that. And then what about this street fair coming up? I mean, not coming up, that you did.
Yeah, so the street fair happened in April. So this is the one in Anacortes, and it was very close to Earth Day, kind of a tie-in a little bit between the Tulip Festival and thinking about the Earth. So it was a street fair that had, oh gosh, I'm going to say 25 different agencies that came to that fair. We brought a coach, and the fire department brought a fire engine, and we were more popular, I have to say. You know, those guys. So yeah, we had a lot of traffic. We also talked to people about the long range transit plan when we were there. And it had a walking parade component to it. So first was a parade where people were dressed as different creatures of the earth. Earth Day.
Yes.
And they were playing drums and music and so forth, and they came right through and around the bus.
Oh, that's great. That's great.
It was really fun. And then at the end, they had a light parade. And if you might have seen this in Mount Vernon in January, they had over 100 luminaries that people were carrying when it got dark through the streets. And by and large, they were in the shapes of earthly things. We had swans and tulips and snow leopards and
oh my
starfish, everything you can imagine. So it was a good event.
Sounds really good. Now, have you gotten any feedback or any people calling or writing and asking more information about Skagit Transit, about routes, about anything that you talked about as a result of that event?
I've had some parents that are interested because they weren't aware that youth can ride for free.
Yeah.
And getting a little more information about that. You know, kids having after school programs that they can use transit to come and go for that.
Okay.
That sort of thing.
And then the veteran support event, what about that?
So that was at the Mount Vernon Fairgrounds, and Rogelio and I were there. They had two, actually, well, they called it 3 buildings that had all sorts of resources for veterans. So the VA clinic was there. Oh gosh, all of the food banks were there. Medical related, dental related. There was a van that had showers that came. They were going to have laundry there. They had clothing that they were giving out, food that they were handing out. They did a meal, kind of a continental breakfast and a full-on lunch there for folks.
What did Skagit Transit, now what did you all do there? You did what you usually do, like have the bus and do the information?
We didn't have a bus. This is a tight situation. It's in barns because it's the foreground. We were in the dog barn. So people would come through. So we were near some colleges that were having veteran programs. So people would come through and ask. So, you know, that they maybe would want to know how they would get from one place to another. That day we offered free transportation. So some people came by and said, hey, thanks. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you guys.
That's wonderful. And what I was wondering, because I don't know this, but can the vets get cards through the VA for transit services?
Yes, they do.
Okay. Well, that's good. That's good. Anybody else have questions for Cheryl on these events, like the street fair or the on any of these that she's talked about?
No questions here.
Okay.
I might think of one later, Manette. I might think of one later.
Okay. All right. Very good. Very good. So actually we have gosh, we're quite efficient today. So we have the connector committee, and for Stevie's benefit and for Irene's and our other guests, what this is people who usually take the routes that connect Skagit County with adjacent counties and so forth. We always have them kind of report on things they like, things they see needing either improvement or needing some attention given on the Skagit Transit side. So you ladies that have any who take the connectors, do you have anything to report to us?
Valerie has her hand raised.
Okay.
Indeed, I do. On Thursday, I'm taking the ADX to Bellingham, which I do once a month or so. And a couple weeks ago, I took the 90X to and from Everett on my way to Seattle. My question, on time and comfortable, and although we're going, excuse me, the ADX, sometimes it's a Skagit Transit bus, sometimes it's a Whatcom Transit bus, and As always, I appreciate the fact that the Whatcom Transit buses have windows that you can open, and the Skagit Transit buses do not. So I noted that because it was one bus one way and the other the other. Now, I have, like all of you, I have a Skagit Transit pass, and that recently got updated. I appreciate that. My pass doesn't work on Whatcom Transit on that ADX. And so luckily I had cash, so no big deal. And I remember when Whatcom Transit, the drivers had like 5 pages with pictures of all the passes that they could take, and they could only take on the third Thursday or some other nonsense. It was so complicated. The electronic passes have made this all much easier. This is good. My question is, are our, let's see, is it UMO, whatever our passes are called, are those passes supposed to work on the ADX regardless of whether it's Skagit Transit or Whatcom Transit, or is it just when it's Skagit Transit?
Well, I'm going to ask my husband who's taken the ADX. What did they take your card, or how did that work for you?
Well, they did. The Whatcom Transit bus did not take the Skagit Transit card, so I just gave them $2. I didn't. I thought this was the place to bring it up. I didn't want to, create a fuss on the bus.
Oh, sure.
And so, and this isn't something that can be, has to be resolved this minute. I just say that that's the only issue I've had in that transit in the recent past.
Okay, so Chris, you can speak to this because you take the ADX. So remind me if our passes are accepted on Whatcom Transit.
Hi, I'm not aware that they are. I always go with cash in hand, and generally, they only charge me like $1 on the ADX and $1 if I'm using paratransit, one way, both ways, whatever. So it's not my recollection, and Cheryl can correct me, but I'm fairly sure our passes that are given to us do not enable us to just ride Whatcom County stuff. Am I correct there?
I think that's what I remembered, but I wanted to defer to someone who takes the ADX as well.
Yeah, I mean, I take it, but I've always gathered that they're not usable in Whatcom County. Am I right, Cheryl?
I'll have to check on that.
It seems to me like this came up a few months ago, and I believe that Brad did tell us that the passes that we have, which were given by Skagit Transit, which I'm very appreciative of, are good for Skagit Transit.
Yes, they are, but they're not good for Whatcom to my knowledge.
Yeah. And I don't think I don't think they are for 90X either. Well, wait, are they going down?
No,
it's been a while since
no.
In my experience, the 90X is always a Skagit Transit bus, and my pass always works.
Okay.
The trick with the ADX
is
that
okay.
sometimes it's a Skagit Transit bus and sometimes it's Whatcom. That's where it's tricky.
I got it. Okay.
Okay. Thank you for clearing that up. All right. Does anybody else have any questions about the passes that we have and how that works?
Dave has a comment.
I thought our passes worked from here to the station in Bellingham on the ADS. Even on the Bellingham buses. I realized not in the city of Bellingham, but to the station, I thought it was good from there up to their station and back on their buses. Is that right?
I don't believe ADX is. And again, it's been a long time since I've taken the ADX. Chris takes it more than I do. That's something actually that we need to check into again just to find out. But I don't think they are. And like Valerie said, the 90X, that's a Skagit Transit bus. So, that pass would work on there. But from Bellingham, our passes don't work from what I understand.
there and from the station back on their buses. Can it work just up to their station and nowhere else?
Hi, Madam Transit, Madam Judy.
Yes.
This is Doris.
Yes, Doris. Welcome.
I wanted to say, I'm pretty sure that they only work on Skagit Transit, but why don't we hold on to this thought and have a complete just rundown on it next meeting? Because we could guess, but I think it's just Skagit Transit, and I don't know why it would be different. But I think we should move on because this is a little bit of a question we need to ask someone.
It is, and I think this was addressed in some earlier minutes too, so I might actually look back in some minutes and see if I can find that answer as well. So, okay. All right.
This is Minette.
Yes, Minette.
I'd like to ask a question. If you get caught short, will they accept a debit or credit card?
No. Not to my knowledge.
No.
I've never seen, it's pretty much cash or transit cards.
Correct,
that
cash.
seems silly that they wouldn't take your debit card. But
no.
Whatever.
The way your debit card works is and you have a pass through the community through Skagit Transit as part of
I do. I was just, trying to figure out if you got caught without cash, what would your other options be?
I think they have a little bit of a I think they show a little bit of grace on that but how that actually works, I'm not really sure. And I think that would be a good question also to call into the customer service and find out what they would have to say on that one. I know that, this is something that's always really good to review and we can. So for right now, that's what I would do is check with the customer service if you've got any questions at all. And if you are a CAC member and should happen to your pass gives you the no cash sound, like when you get on there, they're going to let you take your ride. But the thing is, you should at this point, talk to Cheryl and let her know. And as Stevie gets on board and moved out, she would be the one that you're ultimately going to go to and will ultimately have a lot of these answers too.
If that's the case, then we need to find out when our bus leaves there from here, so we ride it up there and back and not their bus, because if we can't use their bus from here, why ride it?
Okay, well, the Whatcom and Skagit County have if you have a pass that you're paying for, just like the regular ridership, those do transfer between counties, and that was the really good agreement that we had with Whatcom County that came about a year or two ago, something like that. But we have, as Skagit Transit pass recipients, as the CAC, our passes are a little different from the regular ridership, since we are not paying into those passes, and those passes are different, and I'm not sure why, but they are managed a little bit differently than just the regular ridership passes that people pay for themselves.
So that's it then. This is Minette. That's it then, because we get a free pass, we can't go between counties without paying cash.
I think, we just don't. Our liaison had all that information, and I don't have it. And I'm sure Stevie will get it once she gets on board. So Cheryl, is this something that you can get back to us on?
I've got it written down on my list.
Okay. All right. So yeah, definitely get back to us. I think this is definitely worth an email for you to email all of us once you find this out, so we have that information and not wait for another meeting. if you can do that, that would be great. Okay, any other questions for the connector committees? All right. Now we've come to the roundtable section. Oh, Cheryl?
Did you have Doris has something to add.
This is Doris. I don't have too much to say except that if we had to get a connector that was a flying carpet, I could get here on time.
Yeah. Yeah, let's see what we can do about that. That'd be great. Put it in the planning, in the long range planning. That'd be good. That would be great. Okay, does anybody have any issues for the roundtable section that you would like to bring up or think the committee needs to bring attention to?
Well, this is Manette. I wanted to find out, do we have any more information about the surveys and what their reaction was to coordinating with Community Transit to do regular service with them?
Cheryl, do you have any information on this?
No, the consultants are not at that point yet, and that's who's looking after that piece.
Who is?
The consulting firm, Kimberly
Okay.
Horn.
So the survey report isn't ready.
So, Manette, what's happening is I've seen on Facebook where Skagit Transit has posted several times encouraging people to take the public survey that's online, and they've provided the link. And I know that survey's also been in paper form and so on, but they are really encouraging people to take that survey. And I don't know what time frame they're working on, but because they've been advertising it so much, I think they're still in the process of getting those numbers.
Okay, because I took it, I took it a day or two after that meeting we had in Cedar Woolley, so I didn't realize that the process would be this lengthy, but that's all right. I just want to know what the outcome is.
Yeah, well, it's a county-wide thing, process, and it's just going through a lot of hoops to get all the numbers crunched.
Sure.
Okay. Any other thing for roundtable or any questions?
Just want to point out for people who are watching.
Hello?
And there's somebody speaking. Who's this?
Yeah, this is Doris.
Okay.
The light rail has opened a run that's on the east side from Bellevue to Redmond. And so it's not, anybody who has friends on the east side could go and try out that wing of it. And just saying that it's making progress, though it hasn't crossed the lake yet. And I'm still waiting. I guess I better take a magic carpet over to the consultant's office to ask them how we're going to maneuver in August when the light rail opens in Linwood to get ourselves there. Just saying.
Amen.
Thank you.
Is light rail an opportunity for us to take a group tour as we've gone to Concrete and to LeConner now? Is there an option
to take a trip on the light rail?
It's possible. I want you to understand it's going to be a really full day if we do that. I'm talking a very full day.
Okay.
What if we took the light, went down to, pardon me, this is Manette. If we went down to where we could access light rail, it would be a really full day.
Yeah, it's used by lots of commuters, from what I understand, and it's a little different from riding our county buses. I mean, those are also used from commuters, but this light rail is a big metropolitan connector, so it's going to be kind of a different ride for everybody and very busy, and like Cheryl said, probably a very full day for that. And so I think what you're asking, Doris, if I'm not mistaken, is you still want to know what kind of what the plans are for how we can actually access the light rail from Linwood, correct?
Oh yeah, this isn't anything new that I haven't said before.
Correct.
But I did talk with the consultants when they had their day here at Skagit Station that I was at about some of the ideas that I had. And one would be to convert one of the morning trips from Mount Vernon to Everett for it to go either all the way to Linwood or to stop at the South Everett Park and Ride and take people there so they could connect direct bus to Linwood without having to go into the Everett station. But I don't want to get too stuck on this because we've talked about it several times before.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
Again, and I am so excited for the Link Light Rail to come to Linwood. I often, in fact, one of the reasons I'm on here is because I often go to the airport, and so I take the 90X to the Everett, pick up the 512, go to the Link Light Rail, and take that into the airport. And I do that relatively often. Actually, my sister is coming in this weekend, flying in, and so I've got her trained, and so she'll take Link Light Rail to Northgate Gate. Sometimes I pick her up there, but then she'll take the 512 into Everett, and sometimes I pick her up there. I haven't gotten her to take the 512 to get on the 512 and the 90 to get up here. That's my next step. But I think it's a wonderful service, and you know, not having to worry about a possible traffic holdup when you're going on when you're trying to get to the airport and there's a lot of stress. That eliminates a lot of stress being on the Link Light Rail system and having to be expedited through Seattle. And so I'm so anxious for it to come to Linwood.
Yes.
So anyway, thanks.
I'd be anxious for it to come to Skagit Station.
Okay. Any other questions or concerns anyone has? All right. Well, hearing none, would anyone like to entertain a motion to adjourn?
I'll second that. We adjourn.
Okay. All right. All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
All
Bye.
right. Was that bye or aye?
That was goodbye. Good afternoon.
Goodbye. Okay.
Have a good May.
All right. Well, everybody, thank you for coming to the meeting, and we will see you all in June.
Thank you, Judy.
Thank you too, Cheryl. Thank you, Stevie and Irene. It was great to have you, and also to our other guests as well.
Thanks to everyone who makes it possible.